Do you desire to turn your passion into income? Connect with other creative souls who also dance to the beat of their own drum? I'm Marie-Nicole, and I'm devoted to combining beauty, uniqueness, and connection in everyday living experiences. As a creative professional and Dharma coach, I help people connect to the truth of who they are and facilitate them in embodying their uniqueness. It is my hope in this podcast that I inspire you to live your life on your terms and earn your income through being uniquely you. After all, it's the unique thread that we each contribute to the collective tapestry that creates the whole. This week is the beginning of a new moon cycle, an opportunity to start over, set a new intention for the month ahead, and allow yourself to dream of possibilities of what you can realize and learn from the previous moon cycle what did and did not serve you. How does this relate to business? Well, it relates to all aspects of life. And as someone doing or desiring to do business to your own beat, then creating cycles of reflect, assess, implement, and refine are important practices and habits to create. Business aside, this is a useful practice and habit for life. In order to create a harmonious life, we need to tune into what's serving us and what's not. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results seems pointless, right? So taking inspiration and guidance from nature, we can use the cycles of the moon as our muse for creating flow in our lives and business. Nature also operates in seasonal cycles, but for me 3 months between cycles or between shifts is a long time. So I like to break things down into bite-sized chunks, and the focus on a 4-week cycle with weekly shifts works best for me, and that's how the moon operates, which is why I choose to follow the moon cycle instead. So if every 4 weeks I focus on a new goal or intention, then by the end of the year, that's 12 new goals that I could potentially realize, or 12 new ideas that I could have tried and tested and expanded or let go of. But until we implement, assess, reflect, how can we truly know what's actually working for us, or what goals or ideas are worth pursuing further? So this is a good opportunity to discover what new ideas can actually serve and what we can benefit from. We often talk about nature as if it's separate from us, forgetting that we too are a part of nature and that we have been designed to operate in the same cyclical manner. Those of us operating within a female body journey through life experiencing 28-day hormonal changes throughout our monthly cycle, which is also how the moon operates. The shifts in energy of the moon affect the waters of the earth and the fluctuation of the tides, and we are made up of almost 70% water. So these shifts and changes also affect us. So it makes sense to me to follow the cycles of the moon to create more ease in the way that we flow through life. Now, men operate on a 24-hour hormonal cycle, but that's not to say that they couldn't benefit from creating habits that correlate with the moon cycle or even seasonal cycles. In the end, our objective is to live a holistic existence, support our basic human needs, and thrive while we also realize our bigger picture dreams, which will serve our families, communities, and the collective at large. So in order to create harmony in our lives, we need to ensure we're taking care of our mind, body, and spirit, and take into consideration lessons from our past to create better choices in our present in order to create better future for ourselves. So racing through our days, chasing future dreams, operating in a way that is all about the future, but neglects to take the learnings from our past or live for the present moment seems like a futile exercise and an exhausting way of existing to me. And yet that's the hamster wheel way of being society has fostered. Constantly feeling like we're behind, not achieving enough, never having enough time, don't have the potential to create a life that we truly love because we're focusing too much on all other aspects of what we don't have, can't do, feeling a sense of lack and looking around at what others do have and are doing. But we do have a choice to change this way of being and create new habits, focusing on the present, learning from our past, and setting ourselves up for a more expanded future. It's within our power to do so. So how do you work with the moon cycle to create a life of more ease and flow. There are many resources out there that can support you in doing so, including my lunar cycle gatherings, which will take place in a beautiful virtual space, and we're going to meet each Monday for an hour and a half via Zoom, starting around the new moon of that month. And at which point we will take our intention for that moon cycle, and we will meet again each Monday after that, engaging in activities and practices that will help support us in implementing that intention and finding ways that align with our values and our lifestyle choices, so that we can realize that intention or recognize that it actually doesn't serve us and we wish to let it go. Now, I won't go into too much detail about what that is about and what it will look like, but in the second segment of this episode, I will share more details like I did last week, so you can stick around for that if you're interested in finding out more. But right now, I'd like to give you some insights into how you can set up the foundation for creating this practice. So even if you don't decide to join me in the lunar cycle gatherings, you have something to take away and work with. That said, we will also get so much value from working together and developing these practices and habits. So if it does resonate with you, then, and you do want to have some more in-depth guidance and support in implementing this practice, then by all means join me for the lunar gatherings. The first aspect of being able to effectively work with the moon cycle is knowing the pattern of that cycle and when each phase of it will occur. At the beginning of every year, I take time to sit down and draw little icons in my paper diary with each phase of the moon cycle. And I'll show you, for those of you watching on YouTube, I'll show you what I mean. So I actually literally draw in the little icons into my diary. And I do that for the whole year. And at the back of my diary, I have a key that I've drawn, which shows me what each phase icon stands for. But, you know, if you don't use a physical paper diary like I do, you can always use the little emoji icons and you can put that into your electronic diary. So you can refer to what phase and stage is taking place in the moon cycle. I found it really important to have the key at the back of my diary when I first started working with the moon cycle, so I could refer to it to understand what each icon was about. And now I don't refer to that as much, but I still do enjoy having that little key at the back. I also use a widget on my phone which tells me exactly what phase we're at in the moon cycle. And the reason I find this valuable is that I then don't have to wait till the evening to step outside and look at the moon and remind myself of what phase we're at. Because throughout the day, when I'm planning what tasks I need to do, I want to be able to allocate tasks to the different phases and stages of the moon and the energies surrounding that. So having the paper diary version, I can plan ahead, and having it on my phone, I can remind myself where I'm at throughout the day. Now, I'm sure that there are other apps out there that can support you in this too, but I've just found these simple little systems are really good ways that I'm comfortable with actually utilising these practices in every day. When I first started doing this years ago, working with the moon cycle, the Bureau of Meteorology, I used their app to check the weather, and it never had the moon cycle as a part of that. But interestingly, in recent years, they've started to include the cycle that we're in and the next phase of the cycle. So there's value in this, not just for us personally, but even for understanding what's going on in the shifts of the energies of the earth and when it comes to our gardening. So why not use it for ourselves as well? So how do you find out the moon's phases for the entire year at the beginning of the year and draw it in your diary like I do? You can, of course, just Google search and find a chart online, which I have done. And I've also purchased, for many years I purchased this physical moon planting guide, which you can get through bookstores. And it takes you through all the phases and stages of the moon. It's quite in-depth. And another really beautiful way to actually have a reference is to support a local artist. So in 2022, after I had bought that moon planting guide, I came across Amy Charlotte's work, a local Western Australian artist who creates the moon lunar calendar, and all the dates and the moon phases are around that. I absolutely loved her style and the colours of that artwork, so I still keep that framed on my altar. Even though it's not 2022 and I don't refer to that for the moon cycles, I love the actual artwork itself. So again, if you're watching the YouTube clip, I've actually shown people what that looks like. You can also Google Amy Charlotte to find out where to find her work or other artists that are more in your style. Amy Charlotte's style and colour scheme has changed over the years since she became a mum, which I can relate to. Before I fell pregnant with my first son, I was a full-time photographer and I wore just black all the time. And then while I was pregnant, I suddenly had this desire to wear colours. And my wardrobe slowly evolved into a kaleidoscope of earthy colour tones, which also included black, but was not all black. So I can relate to that, Amy. And I still love your work, it's just very different to that. And that's why I wanted to mention that in case people Google it and go, oh, that's not the artist I thought I was looking for. She's still a beautiful artist. But I digress. So getting back to laying down the foundations of working with the moon cycles. Having these tools to assist you in knowing where the moon is at in its cycle can then help you in following its lead, deciding on what tasks and activities and even exercises to do that will support you through the energetic shifts that take place throughout the cycle. And the beautiful thing about doing this is that you end up achieving more in less time and living in a way that supports your health and well-being. The other day, my youngest son and I were reflecting on the fact that we are rarely, if ever, sick. And over the last 16 months of becoming a single mum, with just he and I doing all of the work around the property and the house and tending to animals, and everything that life entails, living out of town with only really a school bus that can take us in and out of town for transport, we really can't afford for me to be sick and not be able to drive us around. And we were trying to remember the last time that I was physically sick and unable to get out of bed. And, I get sniffles. It's cold. I live in a cold climate. Even today even though the sun's shining out there, it's still quite fresh. But, to be that physical bedridden sick. And we could only think of one day in the last 16 months that I spent a Sunday in bed. And the reason I share this is that I'm a big believer in prevention rather than cure. And that when we choose to engage in daily habits and practices that support us throughout our journey, we move through our days with more ease and flow, and we can achieve more. While there are other aspects to me maintaining physical and mental health and well-being, from what I choose to consume both physically and mentally, but working with the moon cycle has played a key role. As I mentioned earlier, understanding the energetics of each phase allows you to decide on what to focus on, from even like what tasks to focus on in your work, but also what exercises to do and what foods support you throughout the different phases and stages of the cycle. And these all work towards contributing to your overall well-being, which is why I'm so passionate about supporting others in developing habits and practices that can support them too. Another way I like to look at it is in terms of gardening. We prepare the soil to support the growth of the seed that we plant. And once the seed is planted, we tend to that in a way that supports it taking its next step, germinating and breaking out of that darkness to reach up to the light in order to draw what it requires from the light source to thrive. But it still requires water and other nutrients to support that little seedling to become a full-blown plant that will produce fruit. And that's what understanding each phase of the moon cycle does for us. It helps us develop practices that nurture, tend, and support our growth and expansion, and bear the fruits of our efforts. And actually, effort is not even the right word to use here, because it's not about putting in effort. It's about being. A plant does not put in effort to produce the fruit that it develops. It develops a way of being that enables the fruit to form. So on that note, the next part of this podcast, I will share with you some more details about the lunar cycle gatherings online, which will start around the new moon in October and run for 8 weeks. So if you're interested in learning how to work with these tools that I've shared in today's episode, then stick around to listen to the next segment to find out more information on what will take place throughout the 8 weeks of the lunar cycle gatherings. And even if you don't decide to join me for these gatherings, I hope you found this episode helpful in supporting you to create more flow in your life too. Oh, and I probably should mention that there's a self-guided tutorial available to purchase in my online store, which can take you through this process, and you can do it in your own time if the allocated online gatherings time doesn't work with your schedule. You'll find all of the necessary links for these in the show notes. So for now, I'd like to wish you a happy new moon cycle, and I hope you take this opportunity to reflect and reconnect to what's truly serving you and set an intention to help you take those incremental steps towards realizing your bigger picture dreams. How would you like to create more ease and flow in your days, weeks, months? Connect with your natural rhythm or create one by connecting to the rhythm of the moon's lunar cycle, which can correlate to your own personal cycle once you tune into it. You'll be surprised to discover how much you can do and achieve while even creating time for rest and restoration with less effort and struggle. You don't have to do this alone. You can find your flow in the company of other lunar cycle enthusiasts who will also be reconnecting to their natural rhythm right alongside of you. This is an opportunity to connect to others who see you and support you in being you, and vice versa. We all have our unique thread to contribute to the collective tapestry, and feeling seen and supported plays a big part in being able to step out into our days, feeling empowered to be who we are here to be. And some days that might even mean staying tucked away in our comfy, cozy home, sheltering ourselves and nurturing our own needs. Other days it will be like shining brightly out amongst our community, illuminating the darkness for others. It's so important to feel connected not only to ourselves, but to each other and our surroundings, which is why I'm so passionate about creating space for these connections to be formed, nurtured, and for each involved to thrive and then go out and help others to thrive too. It would be my honour to hold space for you and other lunar cycle enthusiasts for 8 weeks. We'll meet in a beautiful virtual space for an hour and a half each Monday evening via Zoom, kicking off our weeks together, starting on October 16th, around the new moon. In that time, I'll guide you through practices that'll help you set yourself up for a month of realizing the intention that you set in that first session, ways of deciding on aligned action to take and realize your intention, and ways to recognize what you need to release that is no longer serving you along the way, as well as what you wish to call in to help with your growth and expansion. We'll repeat this process for the second moon cycle together so that we can create new habits and practices that will assist you through the busiest period of the year come December. Not only will we meet each Monday evening, we'll also remain connected throughout the week via a private Facebook group where we'll share the journey of realising our intentions and offer support and discoveries and experiences along the way that are relevant. Each Monday session will be recorded and shared in that Facebook group on the Tuesday, including the activities set for the week, so if you happen to miss a session, you can stay connected to what was shared. You won't want to miss a session though, because of the magic that will be created with us gathering together, absorbing the energy of each other's presence. You will also receive an e-booklet to refer to between meetups with prompts of what each session will cover. This 8-week commitment is not so much about a commitment to working with me, it's more about a commitment to working with yourself and connecting to your own personal rhythm, or developing one if it's out of sync, through working with the rhythm of the moon cycle. Over the 8 weeks we spend together, I'll also share with you my own personal experiences and learnings that have been so valuable while traversing the most challenging transition period of my life. Now, as a self-employed single mum maintaining a small acreage and tending to the needs of our furry and feathered friends, I don't have time to be sick, nor do I have time to waste. Time is even more precious to me these days, which is why developing ways to create harmony and flow has become my highest priority. Life is too precious to waste on being burnt out, dissatisfied and disappointed. Instead, I choose to use it connecting to the magic of living a beautiful existence through taking inspiration from nature and its rhythms, which is in fact the essence of who we are and how we're designed to live. This small investment you'll make for the experience of this nurturing, supportive space and the insights and information shared along the way is only $222 for the 8 weeks. So join me on this journey of creating flow and living in harmony with the natural cycles of life. Each Monday, 6:30 to 8 p.m. starting October 16. Bring your own cup of cacao, your favourite herbal tea, or even a glass of wine. There's no judgment here. This is just a place to connect to yourself and to others, as well as the rhythm of nature and life together. Book today. More details on the website at creatorsnest.com.au. You can find the links to these in all of the places, depending on the platform that you're viewing or hearing this on. It'll be in the show notes, the stories, the profile, comments. You'll find it. It'll be everywhere. I look forward to journeying those 2 lunar cycles with you and witnessing you connect to your natural rhythm or develop one through this experience.